RDTDaily.com presents a Tarabuster with comedian Tara Devlin.
What's up? My name is Tara Devlin. Thank you for hanging out. This is our Friday night get-together, and I'm glad to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Oh, well, let me see. I should put the main screen on. But hello, we meet here every Friday. Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. And I'm actually at 9 o'clock. Robin, Roxanne Kincaid, and I are filling in for Mike Malloy. So it's a little bit weird tonight because we pre-recorded that because of our own shows and this show. So you can listen to this live and download Mike Malloy's show. I hope you're a subscriber to his podcast at MikeMalloy.com. And or vice versa. You can listen to Mike live and download this show later. All right. So let's see. Thank you, Charlie from APS Radio News. We start the show as we do all the time, thanking Charlie and our supporters at patreon.com/Tara Devlin and Charlie's APS Radio News and APS Radio. I hope you've listened to APS Radio over the holidays. Keep that on in the background, the classic rock and oldies station and the classical music station can be the soundtrack of your new holiday memories, all right? And what else? I mean, this isn't all about plugs. Let's just dive into it. I'm trying to get better at that, where I'll just sprinkle the plugs in throughout. And I appreciate your indulgence and your patience because we do it anyway. We do the show anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's how you do it. You show up anyway. And I see the chat room is filling up over at youtube.com/c4channel/Tarabuster. And what the hell? Is Hal? I don't know if we're being raided by Hal. Is Hal on? I should have sent a message. And because I usually ask him and Andrea if they're going to raid. And they usually say yes. Let me just see if they're I don't even know if they're still on. So sometimes Hal goes, he's like, this is the independent liberal media, I don't think he's on right now. So, okay, maybe we're not getting raided. It's fine. I don't take it personally. I was on Hal's show yesterday, and I thought we had a great conversation. And it was great to start the new year. We have a lot of work to do. What's one thing that I thought another day closer to that great getting up morning, even though it's another day closer to all of us, right? Having, I'm not trying to be morose here, but this is why, I can't take Republicans anyway. Oh, so Hal's show ended a while ago. That sucks. Maybe the timing wasn't right to raid. So that's all good. It's all good. So, let me see. What was I saying? Yeah. No, I don't want to get morose and, we're all going to die someday, but I'm not giving away the game there by saying that. But hopefully, I always say, I just want to see that great getting up morning, right? Oh, he had bad audio on Hal's show. Yeah, it was weird. Yesterday when I was on the show, he kept saying, oh, I'm losing your audio. It sounded fine to me. Usually I'm the one with the crappy audio and tech problems. So on my end, everything was sounding fine, but he said he was having a lot of issues. So, yeah, I don't know. He does a lot of traveling, so I imagine that might, switching up systems and all that might sometimes, get a little bit, yes, I'm hearing from Andrea now, Hal had tech issues, so the show went down. Sorry, we couldn't raid. That's okay. It's okay. Hey, you've done so much for the show and for me personally as we speak. So I'm just grateful for any kind of support and in the past, in the future, in the present, whatever we have, we help each other, and I'm very grateful for it. So, yeah, thank you so much for all you do, Andrea. And happy birthday. You know, we had similar birthdays, and mine was the 27th, and Andrea's was the 30th, if I'm not mistaken, or the 31st. So now it's just, see, the week is escaping me. Was it New Year's Eve or New Year? I don't know. I wrote it down. You know, that's the kind of thing I do. I like to keep people's birthdays straight. Yes, tell me what day is it? The 29th. Oh, I was wrong. 27. Okay, because you're a Capricorn too. All right, the 29th. I hope I have that written down correctly, because I was screwed up even today when I woke up. I'm like, what day is it? It is a weird week, you know, between Christmas and New Year's, especially when, I guess, when Christmas falls in the middle of the week. So, yeah. All right. Where do we begin? I so many things I want to talk about. So, earlier when we were pre-recording for Mike Malloy's show tonight, we were talking about the, you know, just Traitor Trump's health, and how that great getting up morning obviously is, we're all headed there, but that's Traitor Trump's demise legally and peacefully is really the most anticipated obituary I think that any of us could ever remember. I don't ever remember, and I'm telling you right now, there will be no graciousness about it. There will be no, we must respect the office of the presidency. It's time for us to get a grip, all of us, you know. And I mean, the high road, we like to take the high road because the low road is so crowded with Republicans, but it's not about the high road. It's about realism at this point. Telling the truth about Republicans does set them off. It triggers them. We're not saying anything that they don't deserve. It really is simply about holding a mirror up to them. And in Trump, the damage that this person has done in his wasted, useless life, we have our work cut out for us. Thanks to him, you know, we got a lot to do. And what Hal was saying yesterday, it was actually very encouraging, because he said this: as soon as we start turning on that, you know, how did he put it? I'm trying to remember, but turning on the spigot, so to speak, which brought us, brought us to remember Traitor Trump turning on the spigot in California. You know, oh, he opened the water. He had to sneak in and open up that, you know, that big valve over there that they had locked. It's like a literal valve, supposedly, in his tiny pea-brained, dementia-addled mind. But as soon as we start to undo the damage that this monstrosity has done, and his party of enablers have done, it's going to be like a jubilee, really. The economic revitalization, it will be like a new deal in many ways, because what they've done to our country. And now I've for years, okay, this is what I believe, that Democrats, you know, have to start fighting a little bit more forcibly, or forcefully, right? I guess that's a better word, without apology. And because we're on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. That's how, you know, we talk about it all the time. And the fact that for years Republicans they've turned this hatred against government, right? And what's really irritating about the Democrats is that they don't respond to Republican attacks. It's like taking the high road to them, it seems like, is just, you know, being silent. Let the maggots, it's like let the babies play. Let them say their their stupid juvenile taunts and attacks, and the American people will figure it out. They'll figure out that they would rather have the adults, because we'll take the high road and we won't stoop to their level. Well, it's not stooping to Republicans, the level of the Republicans, if you, by fighting back, if you tell the truth about the Republican Party. Because when they say that this is what the Democrats should have been doing all along. When the Republicans talk about, we want to drown government in a bathtub, this is what we've been hearing for years, right? Grover Norquist said he wants to shrink government down to the size where you can drown it in a bathtub. Even their metaphors are sick, right? Even the way their phrases are disgusting. Hold on a second. Here's the music. We'll be right back. This is Tara Devlin. So, that image that they put in our mind, shrink it down to the size that you can drown it in a bathtub. Now, what are they drowning in a bathtub? What is it, a baby you're drowning? Is that what we're supposed to envision? A baby? Or maybe a bag of kittens, right? That's how sick these people are, that they want to drag it in and drown it in a bathtub. But what they're talking about is, they're talking about democracy. That's what they want to drown in a bathtub. They don't want, it's not about government. They love government, fine. They love big government. They love a big authoritarian government. And exactly, as Redfoot says on the chat, who exactly, well, he puts it like this. Who drowns babies in bathtubs? Sickos. Who thinks of that? Who reaches for that image when they're trying to make a point, right? I'm trying to paint a picture in your mind and of how much I hate government, and I'm gonna use one where where you're envisioning drowning something, period. You know what I mean? But something small and innocent and something that can't fight back. That's the image Grover Norquist painted. But the Democrats, of course, said nothing. And all along, the Democrats should be on the right side. It should be fighting for government. We're the government, for Christ's sakes. We're the government. That's what the founders fought a revolution to create and entrust to us. And they hoped that we would be adult enough to manage it without sending a mob to the Capitol to defecate and urinate in the halls to stop the peaceful transfer of power. For our entire history, we were able to boast, this country, America, that shining city on a hill, we were able to boast that we had an unbroken chain of the peaceful transfer of power until that monster Traitor Trump squatted in the office despite receiving fewer votes the first time. This time he did receive more votes, but he did not receive, let's put it this way, he did not win the popular vote. That's another thing he likes to say. Traitor Trump did not win the popular vote. I don't know why it's never corrected whenever he says anything. Well, why should I be surprised that it's never corrected? Because they never correct him, no matter what he says, right? The corporate media just repeats what he says, and it's laid out there like a big rotten egg and stinks up the room, but it's never corrected. He did not receive the popular vote. He won this election by I think it was 1.6% of a squeaker, but more people voted against him. So more people voted for Harris or a third party candidate than voted for Trump. He did not win over 50% of the vote. So he keeps repeating that. Of course, he's a filthy fascist liar. And he is what he is, He is a liar, as we know. He's a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, a filthy fascist sociopath who hates America. All those things are true, but it really is the response to him that is, I believe, most damaging. You know what I mean? It's insane to me how we allow this to continue when he is so unfit. But that's the Republican Party for you. So, when and this whole thing that's going on with the Minnesota fraud story, this thing is driving me up a wall, really, because it's like the perfect storm of Republican manias. It reminds me of the Acorn, the Great Acorn Panic, the made-up Acorn Panic. That was during Obama's administration, when the Republicans and this fake James O'Keefe, he was, this, I don't know, what would you call him? He would selectively edit news pieces, but they always, this is what they do, what propagandists do. And this is exactly what's happening with this Minnesota fraud, so-called fraud, and it is fraud. I mean, what they did, they uncovered fraud, but it's being indicted. There's no smoking gun here, and the fact is, it's racist. It has all those, has all the ingredients that the maggots like to chew on. It's the Somalis, it's government, it's Tim Walz, it's Democrats falling down on the job. Like they're just, a bunch of fraudsters. And it's another reason why Traitor Trump, it's an excuse for them to defund government. You see, government doesn't work. Government sucks. Government, you got to shrink it and drown it in the bathtub, right? So instead of making it work, these are the same people who get rid of the watchdogs. You don't want fraud. Nobody wants fraud. You see, Republicans only seem to react to fraud when those who commit it are politically advantageous to them. When it comes to fraud, when the person has an R after their name, the only concern Republicans have is how can they get their cut, right? Where's their vig? How could they get a piece of this fraud? You see, and so what this is about too is also distracting from the Epstein files. This murderous monster is committing war crimes without a war, murdering people on the high seas to distract from the Epstein files. So, this person, what's his name? Shirley. The fact that Elon Musk tweets it out, so they're running on, for those who don't know, this is, what's his name? Nick Shirley, accusing Somali-run daycare centers in Minnesota of stealing over $100 million in child care subsidies. And, of course, these are claims that are not backed up with verifiable evidence. He just shows up with a camera. They selectively edit things. They show locked doors. I guess this moron didn't realize that daycare centers generally don't have unlocked doors, because you don't want maggots, especially unhinged maggots with cameras, running in to a daycare center with children. That would be a far more egregious scandal, I would think, if a daycare center where kids running around, where there was unlocked doors with random men with cameras running inside. So, but this is their new Flashpoint viral video because it distracts from the Epstein files, right? That Trump is a pedo who's in the Epstein files. Let's not forget that. They have hit rock bottom, the maggots, all of them. Forget Trump on Fifth Avenue shooting somebody. They are excusing the rape of children now, okay? That's the bottom. I don't even know how much lower can you go when you're there. Hold on. So this new, whatever, Nick Shirley, JD Vance retweeted it, this video of their selectively edited video. They made this maggot a star overnight. This is what they do on the right. It doesn't matter. It's also another way to delegitimize the legitimate press. You know, Nick Shirley doesn't run he doesn't run his operation with ethical standards. You know, there's no legal department or standards and practices department where if he makes a mistake, he has to print a retraction like mainstream media outlets have, or corporate, news outlets, or the New York Times. They run with these journalistic standards. Not Nick Shirley, but of course it's in the best interest of maggotry in general to delegitimize the Fourth Estate. Every pillar of democracy, in case you haven't noticed, Republicans are in there like little termites whittling away until the whole thing is toppling over. Because they want to drown it in a bathtub. They want to drown the government that the founders fought a revolution to create and entrust to us in a bathtub. That's why, it's, the Matrix goes pretty deep here. They call it the Dark Enlightenment. This is what drives me insane, too. We don't hear, the mainstream media, they have all the money, too, right? They have budgets for news gathering, not as much as they used to, which is a disgrace. Now they just run polls and shit, but which doesn't cost much, and they do flash polls like man on the street bullshit. What do you think? How you getting are you happy with your vote? And who do you think will be better for the economy? That used to drive me nuts. Even though, don't tell us who Joe Blow maggot number 50 thinks is going to be good for the economy. Why don't you do a story about it? Do the stories that show us that every time Republicans hold power, the American working class slips lower and lower on the ladder of economic prosperity. How about that? That's a demonstrable fact, right? How about you show us that, Traitor Trump hasn't created a single job since he's been in the halls of power? Not a one. In fact, as we know, he left office last time with the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover. This time, I guess he's going to outdo himself without a pandemic. He is the pandemic at this point, and we'll get to that because he's the business bankruptcies are at record numbers, like all the shitty negative things that you don't want in a decent functioning society are happening yet again under Traitor Trump. But he's got his ballroom, right? He's got a big fancy jet from the Saudis. Hey, maybe Putin. He's got Putin's ear, or Putin has his ear, right? That's all that matters to him. This is why it's such a disgrace that on the 250th anniversary of America, that monstrosity will preside over our anniversary. It is, you know what? That is something that I will never, ever forgive people who voted for Trump for doing that to us. Shame on you all. And every time I say that, I always think, because one of these maggots, I get contacted by maggots sometimes because they say, you suck, or whatever. They're like, oh, you're, whatever. They just call me names. And I always say that's a compliment. Really, it is a compliment. When maggots insult me, take my advice, because other people contact me. My friend Charlie, he contacted me and he said that he posted something on a social media board, and of course immediately these maggots pounced on him, calling him everything but a mother's son. And it's upsetting, but you gotta take it as a compliment, really, because that means that you're doing it correctly. You know, when the worst people on the planet, when horrible people are, I mean, because they have nothing to say. You know, all they have are names and little juvenile taunts and pejoratives. They never come back with anything that you could be like, oh, well, that's a good point. You know what I mean? It's really, it shows us who they are. All they'll say, you know, Trump 2020, Trump's still your president, whatever. He's still my president. Well, you lost too, booby, except you are too dumb to realize it, you know? But anyway, it's you know, my father used to say every knock is a boost, but you, as FDR said, judge me by my enemies. When the people who suck are calling you names, that's good. That's good. I mean, because I would be more concerned if all the maggots were in here going, yeah, she's really got a point there. I don't know. I would rather, well, I do want them to see the light. Yeah, I do. But I know that before the truth sets you free, it pisses you off. And maggots will, they're kind of a lost cause, is what I look at them, because like we're saying, they're even excusing Trump's rape of children. I'm reluctant to say that word because it does ding you on YouTube. What do you say otherwise? That's what he's doing. That's what he did. There is, in no world did Traitor Trump, what did Mike Johnson said? He was working with the FBI. He worked with the FBI to expose Epstein. In no world did that happen. That's how disgusting Mike Johnson is. I mean, they're excusing a person who, what did Megyn Kelly say? Well, she said he got handsy. She doesn't care about Trump getting handsy. Well, he got handsy with 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. Okay? You know, those are children. I know that Megyn Kelly, they're all swirling and lapping up the swill in the sewer. And that's just that's barely legal now, according to Megyn Kelly. It's no difference, you know, between a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old. They're both called children, Megan. I mean, this is where we are. Think about that. Think about that. How disgusting they are. Did you ever think, after listening to them whine and bitch and moan for all these years about Clinton, oh, what am I going to tell the children? Remember when Clinton had a consensual relationship with an intern? Yes, the power dynamic was screwed up, but they were both adults, both legal adults, and there was no coercion involved on either side. So, okay, I'm not condoning it, but frankly, even at the time, I didn't give a shit. That's between him and his wife, and, you know, whoever else that he wants to bring in on. Who cares? Leave, you know, that's his personal life. I had no problem. It's not my business, right? But now we have to hear them excuse Traitor Trump's relationship with a convicted pedo. And he's not just a pal of a pedo. He shares wonderful secrets with him. You know, a pal is a wonderful thing to have. He's all over the Epstein files, you know? And we have sworn deposition of the women now, who were girls at the time, who he victimized, who he sexually assaulted. But that's not good enough, you know, because now we can have 20 women. How many women came out he's already an adjudicated rapist. And I don't care how many times maggots, and even the AI, when I'm doing research and I call Trump a rapist in the AI will correct me Sometimes, oh, Trump is not a rapist. He was found liable for sexual abuse. And then I will have to correct it. And I say, how many times do I have to tell you? The judge who presided over E. Jean Carroll's rape trial said that Traitor Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. That it was a technicality in the law of New York that he wasn't convicted of rape, but he raped her. I can look it up right now. I'll show you right now. Let's see. And I don't know. I thought the AI was supposed to learn, but I do think that because it learns from everybody, there's a lot of maggots out there. And we know, like, I don't use Grok or anything like that because that's been trained to be a Nazi, right? Hold on a second. Let's see. It's hard to type, and sometimes judge says, yeah, Trump is guilty of rape. Hold on. I shouldn't say that. And now I'm going to get dinged by YouTube because I'm saying that word a lot. Yes, here it is. I'll show you. I'll show you right here. I can hear Tara Jr. snoring. Oh my God, that's so funny. I don't know if you can hear him. He's snoring rather loudly. Good for him. He gets to sleep the peace of the angels, not knowing that Traitor Trump exists, right? That is the peace I will not know ever. I cannot relate. Oh shit. I'm putting this up and it's giving me it's given paywall because I am not logged in on Safari. Hold on a second, guys. Thank you for your indulgence as we drive the Ecam ship here. Legally and peacefully, see? Yeah, it's given paywall. Let's try this. Here we go. I took a screenshot of it. See? Yes. Judge clarifies. Yes. Trump found to have raped E. Jean Carroll. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you... but that's the technicality in the law. The fact that E. Jean Carroll could not relate or couldn't... she wasn't sure if it was Traitor Trump's smaller than average Mario Kart looking mushroom thing or his fingers. So that's why, because of the technicality in New York law, he was found to simply have sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll. But yes, he was found liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll. But in spite of that, the jurors adopted the option of clarifying it, or categorizing it as sexual abuse, but it was a rape claim. So there you go. And let's see, how did the judge put it? The finding that Miss Carroll failed to prove that she was raped within the meaning of the New York penal law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people have commonly understood the word. That's the judge saying this. Indeed, as the evidence at trial recounted makes clear, the jury found that Trump did in fact do exactly that. Isn't that vile? New York's legal definition of the R word, is far narrower than the word is understood in common modern parlance. That is why. Let's see. Yep, there you go. So let's not mince words. This is who he is. And the maggots know this. And they should be ashamed. But, of course, if they had any shame, they wouldn't have voted for the serial bankrupt tax cheating con man with the fake university, the multi-level marketing vitamin scam, and the history of sexual assault. How many women have to say, yeah, this mother effer sexually abused me? On a plane, on where bumping into him, and this is who he is. He confessed it. When you're a star, they let you do it. Right? I don't even ask. I don't wait. I just start kissing. But that's okay with maggots, because they love Jesus. And Traitor Trump, he's a Christian. And, if Jesus came back, these people would crucify him again. That's why I'm so tired. This is what we have to say to the American people. And, I can only do so much on my little Tarabuster show. But the Democrats, please, stop playing by Marcus of Queensberry rules, right? We have to tell the truth about them unapologetically and bluntly. This is who they are. They're excusing a convicted felon rapist. The fact that the Democratic Party doesn't call Trump, not just the president, they say, the president this, the convicted felon president. Do you think if Joe Biden was a convicted felon, first of all, he would never be the standard bearer of the Democratic Party if that were the case. But if it were, do you think that they would ever let the American people forget it? And when the maggots... See, I had a friend, and he wasn't really a friend, I guess. He was an acquaintance that I knew from somewhere. He was a Facebook acquaintance. And after the election, he started really, putting bullshit on my Facebook page, and I just eventually blocked him after a while because another friend reached out and was like, why don't you block this guy? My God. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And I did. But all along, he would say things like, I guess it was sort of part of my anthropological study of the Trumpanzees. And so I was interested in his perspective. But he whenever I would call him a convicted felon, he would say, there you go again, calling him a convicted felon, as if that wasn't the case. It's like, well, he was convicted of 34 felonies, but the, it didn't count in maggot land because it was a jury of New Yorkers. Whatever excuse they have, it doesn't matter that this is the system at work, that convicting Traitor Trump, I mean, it was a long time coming. He's been a con artist his entire life, and he's skated. Just like Jeffrey Epstein, though. That's the thing. Like, Jeffrey Epstein was involved with one of the most prolific Ponzi schemes, and he didn't see a day in jail because of that at all. He was another grifter, too. They're all grifters. All of them in the halls of power now. Like, from Traitor Trump to Melania Trump to J.D. Vance, and all of them. They're benefactors. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, they're all grifters. And this is, time to call them out. Really. I don't understand why the Democrats don't. Especially, for example, when Elon Musk was going and destroying our bureaucracy. I don't get why the Democrats don't do their due diligence like we do here on the show. I've done many shows about Elon Musk. I've written many articles about him, about his lifelong, grifting. He's a grifter. How he scammed money out of investors by building this casing around this computer from trying to get during the dot-com boom, where all these rich investors had the fear of missing out. And he did this presentation for a bunch of old men with money, and it was nothing. You know, it was this what was it, zip.com? It was that's how he made his money after him and his brother invested in this Yellow Pages online, which it was, that's Google. It was already being done. And he brought these investors in, and in order to impress them, he built this fake casing around a Windows computer that made it look like some supercomputer, but it was all bullshit. It's just bullshit. And they threw money at him. So, for it, you know, and here we are today with this monster who is a grifter, a fraud. He's not a genius. He's not an innovator. He's somebody that goes in and fires people wherever he goes, and he treats people like shit. And he hires people that know what they're doing. He buys into companies that are already building the thing, making the thing that he will eventually pretend that he founded and innovated, like Tesla. As we see with Tesla, it's no longer the number one electric vehicle or the top sold electric vehicle in the world because of him. You know, this is what maggots do. This is what Republicans do. Whatever they touch, they destroy. The only way, Tesla was building and it was growing because people thought it was a good company. It was a sustainable company, right? It was they took the word sustainable out of their mission statement. The bastards. Anyway. All right, so let's see. As far as this, so we're talking about the bullshit that's going on in Minnesota, and the same monstrosity. Let me see. The baboon, I like to call. No offense to baboons. I don't know. It's just he seems like a baboon to me. Really. Just a devolved baboon. Oh, we could talk about that in a minute. The birds. That's what we were talking about. Robin and I were talking about. But here we go. HHS, excuse me. HHS, Health and Human Services, is freezing child care funds for the whole country now. Now, I don't understand how... Who the fuck is Trump? Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong thing. Hold on a second, guys. Where's my eCam? There we go. Trump is not a king, so I don't understand how somebody in the chat can explain it to me, how Traitor Trump can just go booga booga, your funding is frozen. He's the president. The president doesn't have control of the purse strings of any of our of the money in the country. That's in the Constitution, and it's by design to stop some baboon from thinking they're a king. But here we go again, right? The same monster, the same convicted felon whose entire life reads like a rap sheet, you know, who's a grifter, a lifelong grifter, now wants Americans to believe that he's the sheriff cleaning up Dodge. And Dodge, of course, is these healthcare or these child care centers. And now he's ordered Health and Human Services to freeze child care payments to every state under the guise of preventing fraud. Okay? And like I said, Trump doesn't give a shit about fraud unless he's not getting his cut. Really, that's this guy has pardoned fraudsters. You want to talk about fraud? You want to, what's his name? where's the fraud? The selective outrage only triggers when the fraud is politically advantageous, right? This is hypocrisy, of course. The hypocrisy never sleeps in Maggotville. Every time a right-wing Twitter warrior starts foaming at the mouth about immigrants invading, or using our hard-earned American tax dollars, I can't help but remember that the biggest fraud in U.S. history wasn't committed by any undocumented person trying to, trying to get some insulin, maybe. It was committed by Rick Scott's company, a Republican. Right? Well, is Rick Scott? I mean, he's one of the. He's an approved maggot. Let me see. You know who I'm talking about, right? But I don't understand. That's another thing. This is why we have so failed the American people as Democrats with a message for people to vote for Rick Scott after knowing that he committed the most egregious fraud against Medicare in American history, $1.7 billion in fraud. That's not, I'm talking B with a B, not an M. We're talking billions with a B, when that meant something, right? Before trillions starts being a twinkle in Elon Musk's eye, dead eye, I should say. These looters, they cross the revolving door, of course, between corporations and government, because this is how Republicans roll. Instead of getting deported or assaulted with racist attacks that never stop, Rick Scott got a promotion in Maggotville. He went to the U.S. Senate. So how is this okay, right? Straight to the U.S. Senate, courtesy of the same law and order voters who lose their minds when somebody uses food stamps, when somebody gets $16 more in food stamps than they don't deserve, I guess, or whatever they say. This is the Republican way. They have fraudsters running rampant in their party. And they vote for them. They give them power. He was the governor of Florida, and now he's a senator. Was he was he the governor? Am I getting him confused? Or did he run for governor? Let's see. Governor. Was he governor? Yes, he was. Excuse me. He was, right. He was the governor of Florida. Oh, God. Jeez Louise. And then now he's a senator. And he's a staunch maggot ally. He's not, going to be signing any discharge petitions, I'm sure, anytime soon. But how, I don't get it. When you commit a $1 billion Medicare fraud, and then you get a promotion in the Republican Party, it's, it makes sense, I guess, that, I understand that the entire party is a fraud. All of them. They run on frauds. They have a con man as a standard bearer. That's inevitable. It was inevitable for that to happen because everything that they pretend to be is a fraud. They're not Christians. They're not patriots. They don't put America first. They don't love mamas and babies and families. They don't, everything they run on. I wish they were pro-family. Maybe they wouldn't block paid maternity leave, paternity leave, vacation, sick leave, living wages, right? I wish they were pro anything. They're not pro anything. They're pro death. They're pro drag us back to the dark ages. I don't know why these ads are running.
News in the morning. Then
So, this baboon gets to freeze. He's going to see, and here's the thing. All right, let me gather my thoughts for a second, because there are real documented fraud cases in Minnesota tied to social services programs, but that's the fact that they were rooted out and are prosecuted, and there's actual indictments happening and all that. That's been happening. That started years ago. Federal prosecutions on this began years ago under Merrick Garland's DOJ, with dozens of people charged and convicted, and they continue, regardless of which party is in power. So this new video by this right-wing so-called influencer, I'd love to know if he's being funded by the Kremlin. I wouldn't doubt it. Nick Shirley, accusing these Somali-run daycare centers in Minneapolis of stealing over $100 million in childcare. But these are claims that are not backed by any verifiable evidence except their selectively edited videos. And they're presenting this is what they do all the time, whenever it suits them. Like what happened with Acorn and the James O'Keefe. These influencers and the partisan outlets, they're presenting this video as a sting. It's real journalism, showing closed doors, empty playgrounds, and off-hour footage. So this is not proof that a vast fraud network exists. And of course, they're trying to tie Somali immigrants and, by extension, Democratic officials like Governor Tim Walz and Representative Elon Omar to this fraud. Because, it is really a perfect storm for them. They're licking their chops about this. But that's why you don't hear you hear this, but you don't hear anything about Epstein, or you would never hear anything on Fox News about fraud committed by Republicans. This is already being indicted, But the Trump and the allied, all of his allies, his Maggot influencer commenters and Russian-funded mouthpieces are inflating the rhetoric, of course. This is what they do. They're claiming up to 90% of fraud is tied to illegal Somalis. Unbelievable, right? Hold on. This is Tara Devlin. They're saying that illegal Somali entrants commit 90% of the fraud in Minnesota, arguing that they contribute nothing. Listen to this rhetoric. And should be deported, even though most of the Somalis in Minnesota are citizens and legal residents, but they have the wrong color. That's the thing. That's why they love this shit. So the right-wing sites and cable segments are also folding older social services scandals into this one amorphous scam, right? Echoing just like what they did with Acorn, the Acorn incident, which was nothing, and they dissolved Acorn. Acorn was completely federally defunded based on this bullshit. They're really good at making up stories, of making fake crises and tackling the fake crises. But the real crises that America faces, they cultivate. Republicans cultivate, and they love it. They get rich off of it, and they need it, because otherwise, how are they going to get rich? How are they going to divide and conquer this country? It's always selectively edited video. It's always inflated dollars, right? They sensationalize the amount of money. Meanwhile, traders, they don't give a shit. I showed you that post of somebody posted on one of my videos. I love Trump. I hope he becomes the richest man on earth. You know, I'm so happy he's nearly $3 billion richer when he's poor in every other aspect. He's not rich at all. Not at all. The most hated, most vile waste of human DNA. He's not rich, you know? I mean, nobody gives a shit about him. Not his kids. Every relationship he has is transactional. His kids, please. They are waiting for him to croak, just like the rest of us. And anyway, the goal in what we're witnessing is not to expose fraud, because we're all for that. That's the thing, you see. If they wanted to expose fraud, they wouldn't fire, government watchdog agencies. They wouldn't treat people who work in the government like crap. They wouldn't be like Russell Vought said, that we want to traumatize government workers. You know, you pay people decent wages and living and working in good working conditions, and that's what we should expect of a shining city on a hill, the greatest country on earth. We should expect a bureaucracy that runs and is functioning with people who want to go to work every day to serve their fellow Americans. That's what I want to get to. I want to get to a country that understands the necessity of that, you know, instead of these maggots that just whine and bitch and moan and cry and defund everything. Now, they're defunding this, using this fraud that's already being indicted, that's already been uncovered, that it's an ongoing issue that we're dealing with. If they really cared about it, if they really cared about fraud, he wouldn't have fired the inspectors general and things like that, right? So they don't care. But it's part of making the American people mistrust government and taking money out of government. Of course, this is the point, you know, because if we pay our tax dollars to invest. See, I don't have kids, but I don't sit around complaining that my money goes to educate kids, that you or tax dollars go to pre-K or child care. Yeah, because that's the kind of civilization I want to live in, where we take care of each other, where we invest in each other, where children who, you never know. You invest in a child, they might grow up and find the cure for cancer, or who knows what, write a beautiful song you want to listen to, or, you know what I mean? And that's why we should invest in each other. But the Republicans want us to not have any of those connections. Their connections are that's why they severed the connections. This is the social contract, the social compact. This is what they are talking about with the dark enlightenment. I'm sure you've probably heard of this. I don't understand why the corporate media, when they talk about J.D. Vance, why they never they never connect the dots. You know, J.D. Vance, funded by Peter Thiel, who is someone who openly hates democracy, who speaks outright about it, says that democracy is the worst thing that happened to humanity. They believe in this kind of neo-feudal tech bro state where people like him, a sweaty, ugly, on the inside and out looking sociopath with dead eyes, gets to tell us all what to do, right? And the rest of us just, I guess we're Soylent Green, or fight over the scraps out here. And he funds J.D. Vance and also Curtis Yarvin, who is this one of their pseudo intellectuals in this dark enlightenment. And I mean, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, right? I guess that's why the corporate media doesn't touch it ever. But I don't know. I always say that when Obama was running, how much we had to hear all the time about how he was palling around with Bill Ayers, right? Palling around with terrorists because Bill Ayers sat on the same board of directors as he did and had a fundraiser for Obama when he was running for Senate. And we never heard the end of that, but the Democrats and the corporate media never connect the dots between Peter Thiel funding J.D. Vance's entire life while also funding people like Curtis Yarvin, who is a fascist who hates democracy. I mean, this is, same thing with, you have to assume that somebody who says openly, Peter Thiel says, I hate democracy, that's the shorthand. And so he funds a fascist who hates democracy, Curtis Yarvin. Why is he funding J.D. Vance then? Don't they have similar goals, ideas, right? I mean, I give money to politicians I believe share my values. Why doesn't the corporate media point out the fact that Traitor Trump and and J.D. Vance are being funded by Nazis who hate democracy? I don't know. Okay, hold on. This is Tara Devlin. Become a patron, patreon.com/Tara Devlin. And subscribe to my Substack if you haven't already. Please. Yeah, so let's see. Where was I? And the whole thing is, you see what's going on with this Minnesota story, that the fact is that the whole thing is a perfect target for this Republican sabotage because it exposes how completely Republicans reject the idea of a social compact. Right? You can't afford daycare. The message is clear. Too bad. What do you need daycare? Strap your baby on your back and get back to the fields. Your reward will come in heaven. Not in a system that invests in you or your children here on earth. Any serious investment in early childhood, parental leave, affordable care, that's socialism. While they hand trillions of dollars in tax cuts and subsidies to billionaires who already own everything that's not nailed down. Republicans don't believe in investing in each other. They don't believe in e pluribus unum. They don't believe in the children of working people having a decent life or having an opportunity, the opportunities that they had. They believe in feudalism. That's what the Dark Enlightenment is all about. Even calling it that it gives away the game. At least they're kind of honest about it. They'll say, "Hey, the Dark Enlightenment is we want to roll back the Enlightenment." The Enlightenment is what inspired the American Revolution and the American Constitution. So Republicans are rewriting it. They'll keep the branding. Trust me. They like the Eagles. They like the Stars. They'll keep the branding, but everything else, it won't be America. It will be the system the founders overthrew. And here's the thing. Okay, this is another. We were talking about this actually on the Mike Malloy show, Robin and I. Okay, now Traitor Trump posted this. Windmills are killing all our beautiful eagles, right? And of course, the corporate media jumped in and trolled him. Wrong place, wrong bird in Trump's post about bald eagles and windmills, right? And because it's not a bald eagle, of course. It's a hawk, and it's not. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to get my screen up here. And it's not even America. It's a picture from Israel in 2017. Okay? But, okay, wonderful. Let's troll him. Let's point out what a dumb bitch he is. But the fact is, that's really not the full picture here, okay? What we should point out is that not only is Traitor Trump an idiot and an embarrassment to this country, and he's an embarrassment to human DNA, right? But he's an enemy of birds. He doesn't give a shit about birds. How come I never hear any of the corporate media? They'll point out that Traitor Trump posted this, right? Wait, hold on. Where is this? Wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold on, guys. I can't find my thing here. Okay. Well, they'll post. I mean, they'll point out that he said this stupid thing, and it's ridiculous because it's not even a bald eagle. It's not a goddamn it's not a bald eagle. It's not America. But that's not the true context of what we should be taking from this post. The true context is that Traitor Trump and the Republican Party have done more harm to birds than windmills could ever dream. Really? Right? Hold on. They have rolled back the fucking hold on a second. Shit. I'm so sorry. I'm having a problem. A little technical problem I'm trying to fix while I'm also trying to talk, and it is not working out too well. Wait, give me 2 seconds here. Son of a bitch. I'm getting a beach ball on one of my, and I'm hoping we're not going to crash. All right, here we go. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to put this. Hold on a second. I have to log in again. Boop, boop. I wish I had a technical difficulty sign. All right. Okay, so they've done more harm to the birds than a windmill could ever imagine, right? If a windmill can imagine. I don't know what his damage is in regard to windmills either. Okay? I guess maybe it's because he knows he's going to die, and why would he set this country up for success in the future? The whole world is moving to renewables and getting away from filthy, archaic oil. And he still wants American soldiers, or what he calls losers and suckers, to die for oil, while the rest of the world is coming up with high-speed rail. And well, not coming up, they're riding on high-speed rail. But Republicans have always stood in the way of that because they want us addicted to oil. And they're coming up with fast charging batteries and renewables. The whole world. We have a big giant nuclear reactor in the sky, just waiting to be to keep our world going without having to without having to be addicted to oil. This Tara Jr. He's got allergies, scratching up a storm in the back. But when this is what I'm asking you guys, have you heard anyone on the corporate media when they talk about Traitor Trump posting a stupid picture of a dead bird? And how dare you, really? Because he hates birds. He hates birds. They hate animals. They will snuff the life out of an animal for fun, right? But this administration has rewritten the Migratory Bird Treaty Act twice now. So companies that are not liable anymore for killing birds. Okay, so when oil pits or power lines, chemical spills, or other infrastructure affects the birds, migratory birds, they don't have to consider any other species when they're putting up power lines, or they don't have to make any adjustments to help save the life of birds. Conservation groups and other animal rights activists like myself and interior officials, former interior officials, because the new ones are disgusting. They were all put in there to kill birds, pretty much. They all warned that this could lead to billions of preventable bird deaths, right? They removed removed the protections for migratory birds, and they were warned that this could lead to the death of billions of birds, preventable deaths, right? It didn't have to happen, but oh well. It's a little cheaper, I guess, not to give a shit, or is it? That's the other thing. I think that's debatable too. They just don't want you to care. Why should we care? That's the Republican way. Do what you want, fuck who you want, take what you want, just take. Don't even ask, just start kissing. They let you do it when you're a Republican, right? When you're a star, when you're rich, when you're a corporation, you just start kissing, you just start raping, you just start taking. It doesn't matter. Why should you care? You could save $1, right? If you could save $1 or make $1, an extra dollar, a whole extra dollar, killing a bunch of birds. But this is what I'm saying. Birds die. Yes, they do die at windmills sometimes. It's not that it doesn't happen, but what kills birds more are, of course, cats. Cats are the primary killer of birds, but things like we're talking about, buildings, power lines, the diminishing habitat that the Republicans don't give a shit about. You see, the Republicans have done this to birds. And that's why I find it offensive, really, that the corporate media, and this is, hear me out. Maybe I'm going out on a limb. I don't know. But I like to connect the dots more than the corporate media, of course, and put it in context, because that is the context. The corporate media doesn't ever put it in context and say, and in my opinion, don't you think they have an obligation to the American people and anyone who's listening to them when this unfit serial bankrupt baboon who's all over the Epstein files posts something like that, say, oh, windmills are killing our beautiful bald eagles. that that more than just pointing out that it's not a bald eagle and it's not a picture of an American windmill, it's a picture from Israel in 2017. Okay, more than just that, they have an obligation to point out the other assaults on birds and animals that these monsters are so goddamn that are engaging in, but under the radar. You know, they're engaging in these assaults on birds. They're killing birds, and it's enabled because it's not pointed out. You know what I mean? You have to put. How else are the American people supposed to know this? Not only they're going after birds, and specifically, which is what they are doing, limiting habitat, limiting, migratory protections. They have moved to gut the Endangered Species Act, this blanket rule that automatically safeguards newly listed threatened species in the Endangered Species Act. They're forcing this case-by-case rule that delays protections for wildlife that are imperiled. Like here's a bird, the California spotted owl and the monarch butterfly. But that they mock these things, right? This is what we hear from maggots all the time. Oh, well, we can't build here because of the spider or the spotted owl. I think they even use the spotted owl in their mocking excuses to not give a shit. But, that's a bird too. But environmental advocates and animal rights activists like myself, these rollbacks put the species on the fast track towards extinction. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. They don't care. The hypocrisy is really a feature in the Republican Party. And the fact that no one calls it out, the corporate media won't pull their covers, is why he will continue to do it and get away with it. You see what I'm saying? That's malpractice, in my opinion. It is journalistic malpractice. The story, it's like burying the lead. Hold on, here's Tara Jr. Tara Jr. wants to put in his word. What do you think? You want to kill a bird? Sorry, you can't. See, this is what kills birds more, but he has never killed a bird because he's not a hunter. He doesn't have to. He's a house cat. But yes, so yeah, this Republican-led House has the spending bills, of course, in this Republican-led House has a historic number of anti-wildlife riders on all of their bills, at least 27 separate attacks on endangered species protections that are packed into their appropriations measures. And they put these bills in, these riders that are stripping or blocking protections for animals from wolves to whales to mussels, directly undermining laws that safeguard bird habitat and ecosystems. Now tell me how much this baboon gives a shit about birds. Please tell me. Am I wrong here? I don't think so. Because we should all be outraged by this, in my opinion. Because it's enabling him otherwise, I believe. And this is why the American people are so fucking stupid. Right? Yeah. Oh, God. Let's see. What else? The House have repeatedly voted to strip Endangered Species Act protections from other species, like the lesser prairie chicken, and they've advanced legislation that would gut the Endangered Species Act science-based listing and consultation process, and shifting more powers to states, of course, that are friendly to extractive industries. It's all about, and that's what annoys me about it, because besides everything else, is that he's pretending to care yet again. I care so much about animals and birds. If only. Really? If only. You know what I mean? And he's allowed to get away with it. The story should be that Trump posts another ridiculous photo. He's a moron, clearly, here, as we've pointed out. He doesn't know what he's saying. But also, not only does he not give a shit about birds, he is the enemy of birds. He's the enemy of all species, including the human race. Right? Because the only thing that matters to the Trumpanzees and the Republicans is that oil, expanding oil, gas, coal, rolling back climate rules and public land protection in favor of drilling and mining and pipelines, and, deepening the climate crisis and accelerating habitat loss, which is what's killing birds the most. There are 50 billion fewer birds now. And where was this? I just read this stat. Maybe I don't want to say incorrectly. In 50 years, let me see, we have lost, because of these policies, is it 50 billion? 50 billion. I'm looking it up, because I don't want to be wrong or incorrect. It sucks to be right. Fewer birds. But anyway, I'm not trying to, keep harping on about it, but you get the point. Oh, yes. No, it's 3 billion in 50 years. That's what I meant. That North America has lost about 3 billion birds since 1970 because of these policies, because of the encroaching on habitat, and it's just a fucking disgrace, right? This biodiversity crisis, but made worse by Republicans, because they don't give a shit, and there they go, exploiting people's, concern and care for eagles and birds and hawks and all the other animals that we share this planet with, that Traitor Trump could give a shit about, unless it's fried in batter, and no one calls it out. It's absolutely unacceptable to me how the corporate media consistently allows the baboon to get away with everything without educating the American people. But I'm here. I'm trying. I am trying. All right, my friends. This is Tara Devlin. Thank you for hanging out on our Tarabuster Fridays. We will win. Thank you, Charlie, from APS Radio News. But we're not done with the show. Come on over to youtube.com/C for channel/Tarabuster. Listen to the rest of the show. We got like a half hour left. And we are on the right side of history. Decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. Check out Tarabuster Tuesdays on the Political Voices Network. We stick together, we win. And Charlie from APS Radio News. Who's bothering me? Somebody's texting me. Why? Why? Oh, brother. Brother. Okay. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing in the new year? Let me see. What's on my list here? Oh, shit. Everybody's annoying me. All my cats are annoying me today. I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Where do I go from here? Traitor Trump. Everything he touches turns to shit, as we know. And as I was saying about the Minnesota fraud cases and all that, I just want to put a fine point on it, that it's about destroying the social compact, ultimately. And getting the American people used to no services at all, no daycare. You know, we're the only country that doesn't have, I mean, they don't have far to go. That's what I'm saying. We're the only country that doesn't have guaranteed sick leave, guaranteed vacation leave, guaranteed health care, right? And that's unacceptable. They don't have far to go because they understand. It's just like with what's happening with Obamacare, right? I said this from the beginning. When I went to those town halls back in the day, when the maggots, who were teabaggers at the time, were disrupting the town halls, and even here, when I went to the town halls in my local community, and I remember getting up on the mic and saying, listen, don't listen to these maggots. Because one of these maggots they were teabaggers at the time, he got up and he was like, what, show me. You know, they're yelling. This is what they would do. They don't know how to behave. So they would scream and yell at the representative. They're like, what, show me in the Constitution where it says we should provide health care to everyone. That was one of their things. You know, this one young person said this. And I wasn't that, I was still young myself at the time. And I remember saying, well, where does it, and then of course I got up a little bit later and I was like, well, it does say promote the general welfare. And I said to the representative, don't listen to these maggots who are now called teabaggers, but in the future will be called maggots. You know, I know things. But because we all know as soon as we pass single-payer health care, they'll all be the first in line to sign up for it. It's exactly what happened with every other social program that they take advantage of. And, of course, everybody applauded. And that is the truth. And at the time, when the maggots were screaming and yelling and bitching and farting about Obamacare, because they are easily played, and people like Sarah Palin were telling them that there are death panels, that, oh, Obama has death panels. And I was recently looking up video of Sarah Palin and talking about death panels. And that bitch, she actually doubled down on the death panels shit. Hold on, I'll put, I don't have it handy, but somebody asked her about it, one of the reporters, and she's like, oh yeah, there are death panels, yeah, and no, not in Medicare. There are no death panels in Medicare or Medicaid. There's death panels for sure in the corporate for-profit health insurance racket. The death panels exist. They kill 35,000 at the time. It was 35,000. Now it's 55,000, thanks to the maggots and the teabaggers. And you know, bankrupt millions, kill thousands, leave millions out. And but as I predicted, when they passed Obamacare, as soon as maggots start taking advantage of it, they will want it. They want more. You know, it was like but at first it was, oh, I want my pre-existing conditions protections. And but they're like children. They're babies. And because the Democrats, for whatever reason, are so abysmal at marketing and messaging, they never pushed back and said, well, you want your pre-existing conditions protections, you're going to have to also have your mandate and your subsidies and all the other laws that the Republicans have taken away. The provisions in Obamacare that actually make it affordable, the Republicans did away with. You know, the mandate, the government subsidies, the risk pools, those were the mechanisms that make it affordable, They should know this, of course, the maggots, because it is the Republican health care plan. And as soon as they signed up for it, they want it. Unfortunately, the Democrats and the corporate media are no good at educating maggots. I don't know why. Because isn't it clear to all of us that the maggots, they really do need, I'm trying to say this gently, but a case of red ass. These are people, legally and peacefully, these are people who beg daddy, right? They want daddy to save them, right? Daddy's home and he's pissed. He's got a belt. He wants to beat your ass. For some reason, they want a strict authoritarian daddy to beat their ass, right? So why don't the Democrats do that? Beat their ass with the truth. Say, okay, we're your daddy now, all right? And daddy has something to tell you, that you're voting for your own demise. You're by voting against the very policies that we are fighting Republicans to provide you. And you keep voting for them. Why? Because they tell you that, they like a trans kid is playing basketball somewhere and you fucking fall for it and like you give a shit. Leave people alone. Like when they go after trans people. Instead of jumping on the bandwagon, Democrats, what they should do is say, well, leave people the fuck alone. Mind your own business. That's freedom. Leave people the fuck alone. But as a society, we do things together. I don't want my tax dollars going to this. This is what they go on about. That's why maggots, that's why the ones in the halls of power have to turn everybody against everybody else, right? And now, when you talk about the fraud, the fraud is in the fucking White House. The fraud is in the Republican Party. The fraud is in everything that they do. That it's in the Republican platform, for Christ's sakes. That's the fraud. They don't like fraud. My God, they certainly vote for the fraud. But the Republicans, where the fuck am I? Hold on. Shit. Don't do this to me again. Hi, everybody. I see Jonathan is chatting up a storm in that chat room. Easy does it, kid. Don't spam the chat, my friend. But, let me see. Where was I? Hold on. Fuck. Sorry. Become a patron at patreon.com. Give the show a good review on iTunes. That'll be nice. Maybe one day I can get some technical help up in this bitch. For this bitch, up in this bitch. I had to clear the screen for a second. Okay, here we go. Anyway, what was I saying? I get so distracted from my own technical difficulties. It's all right. Yeah, I was talking about Obamacare they want all the benefits of civilization. They just don't want any of the responsibilities we have to each other. But it's all about separating each other. This is why I hate legally and peacefully hate them, because they not only rob us of our economic prosperity, they rob us of our serenity. And I was talking about this with Hal yesterday, and he's right. He said, "Oh, they don't rob me of my serenity," and he's 100%. That is a choice for you and me and all of us as an individual to still remain happy and peaceful and free and productive member of society, you know, and happy with your life and your relationships and your, you know, and everything else, but while still remaining on the at the barricades, so to speak, on the front lines of this shit. But not everybody has that ability. See, I try to be I do get affected by it. I'm not gonna lie. You could see it in my face sometimes, and it's hard. It is a choice to I don't know. It's a choice to remain happy. I can't tell you I'm on top of the world looking down on creation, but I don't think I've ever been. I'm not really a glass half full type person. Probably never was, but I'm not a miserable person either. That's the choice. But I'm just saying that there are our fellow Americans, the way that they have so triggered them against and turned them against their fellow Americans when they're motivated by drinking the tears of their fellow Americans, right? When you're with that, and we've read many tweets and social media posts. I think I had one put up from the Leopards Eating Our Face page, where somebody wrote that, oh, I voted because I was so looking forward to watching liberals squirm. That's why I voted for Trump. But now I'm losing my business. And that's how you vote. Even that in itself, voting, motivating yourself to go out and vote for somebody because you want to see your fellow Americans twist and turn and get upset. And what are we getting upset about? You know, we're getting upset about the fact that they're targeting trans people, that immigrants are being vilified in a nation of immigrants, that we're all, like women are gonna bleed out in parking lots, that kids are gonna be indentured servants to banks or in coming out of college, that kids aren't safe because of gun violence in this country. That's what you want to see us twist and turn about? You see how sick that is? Where we want to, okay, Junior, you're getting annoying. You hear the fucking way he talks to me? I mean, he is 15. But he's got to have a little bit of respect. It's okay. He's all right. He gets cranky. He's old, And then my hands, when I talk, my hands move around and he starts getting upset about it. But so anyway, that is just sick, and it's more than the immorality of what these maggots do. It really is about destroying the social compact that we have. The trust. We can't have a functioning democracy without trust. It's built on trust. It's built on an agreement where we agree to abide by the rules. Here are, their Constitution. These are the rules. Let's all abide by it. Now we have a baboon squatting in the White House that doesn't abide by it. Right? The Constitution, to him, he knows that the being born on American soil makes you an American citizen, but yet now we have to hear this case. We have to hear a case about birthright citizenship because he wrote a fucking executive order which was as good. It's not worth the paper it's written on, for Christ's sakes. And that should be the only response to it. But let's all entertain it now, thanks to the corrupt and illegitimate Supreme Court. And I don't know if we were actually talking about this with Robin earlier. I saw this Charlie Kirk video. Right. The the other day I was looking at some videos on YouTube Shorts, and Charlie Kirk pretended he was, and they're rehabbing his entire career as this professional troll, a racist troll, pretty much. But he, the what do you call it? There was some short where he was asked about how the churches should be in control. The churches should be in control of our social safety net. But that is just, and that's the Republican idea, right? That we, everything that the government should, the only thing the government should do is the military, right? Military and the police. And then everything else should go to the churches. If you need any help, you fall on hard times, you take it to the church. Well, we've tried that before, and it didn't work out really well because it was back in the days called the Dark Ages, right? But this is what Republicans, and this is why I don't understand why these arguments keep getting rehashed, and we've seen this movie before. Why bring it back to the States, everything back to the States? That's another thing that they say, that maggots say. And it makes them sound like they have some, like Traitor Trump, and he's like, no, we should go back to the States. Let's go back to everything to the States. That's because he doesn't want to fucking work. He doesn't want to do anything, Bringing it to the state, making the states do it, is not some kind of thoughtful political philosophy. It's a way of him getting out of having to work. So what do we need you, King Trump? Make everything go to the states, right? But they want to do that because they want us nice and weak and divided. So Traitor Trump can do whatever the fuck he wants. And the federal government, we did this before. Everything that the Republicans want to do, we've done it before. And we discovered that it doesn't work. Putting the churches in charge of a social safety net never worked. That's why we had the Dark Ages, for fuck's sake. And in fact, putting the churches in charge of the social safety net, or having no social safety net but the church, does nothing but exacerbate inequality. And it also, the not having a government social safety net it feeds into the mindset, the maggot mindset of that we're not in this together. And that's the point of what they talk about. We shouldn't have to be forced at the barrel of a gun. That's how they put it, to have to help other people. I will beg to differ. Just like we should. Yeah, we pay our taxes, and taxes are a moral document. We pay our taxes, and ideally, they should go to more than just bombing wedding parties or bombing boats off the coast of Venezuela, right? Murdering fishermen off the coast of Venezuela. Yeah, they should go to things like investing in the future, education, sick leave, going to the doctor when you're sick, each other. Education, I said that already, or science, research. That's the kind of society I would want to live in. But, putting it to the church and making the rich richer. It's all a part of dividing and conquering this country. And the Republicans, that's why they're all for it. And I'm tired of them getting away with it. This is not American. It's not patriotic to say, oh, yes, everything to the states. Why doesn't anyone point this out to the American people? Oh, yeah, sure. Whenever the Republicans are like, bring it back to the states. Well, where are the corporate media pundits to say, well, we did that before. It was called the Articles of Confederation. That's why we needed the Constitution. The founders found that it didn't work. You can't have a United States, a patchwork of laws like this. There has to be a strong federal government. And the New Deal changed all that. We thought, and that's why even the Maggots, they love their socialist security. They love their socialism in general, but they just don't want to share. That's the problem. They don't want to share with people who are different. And the Maggots in power, they spend all their time, and of course with their Russian-funded influencers, and many of them who really are just not even Russian-funded, they're Russian, period. As we know, when Elon Musk revealed the location of many of these America First Maggots were in, were right out of the Kremlin. Of course that's the case. We knew that it is about breaking this country up, but you can't do it without the Maggots, falling for it and agreeing that they hate the rest of the country. What's real America? And that's why I can't take it anymore. Even back in the day, Traitor Trump just exploited the fissures of disunity that were already there, right? It was George W. Bush running on real America. I remember at the time when he was like, oh, we're not like those Massachusetts liberals or the California liberals. Who does that? Why would you run on that? Instead, then you have Barack Obama running on, oh, there's no red state or blue state. There's only the United States. There's only one party that runs on unity, and that's the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party trying for all these years, right, to talk the Republicans into being sincere partners in governance. And they have yet to meet us halfway, even, right? They have yet to extend their olive branch or extend a hand across the aisle. Whenever Democrats extend their hand, right, they extend an arm, they bring back a bone, right? And this is what I'm talking about. It's absolutely unacceptable. I don't know. Am I wrong? No, I'm not. I'm checking out the chat here. I don't think I'm wrong. But, yeah, so I see with the time here. Let me see. What the hell? Oh, my lordy. So in the last 10 minutes, here's another thing that makes me sick. That Traitor Trump, he's been in office for 11 months, 12 months, right? Almost. It's been a year. Oh my God. 3 more years of this shit. And everything he has touched, just like the first time, he's destroyed. Now, Traitor Trump he's presided over the most, what is it? How am I going to where is it? This is in Common Dreams. Trump's economic policies did this. Tell me when I'm wrong, guys, people in the chat. I don't think I've been wrong yet. Am I wrong? No, I'm not. I'm not wrong about the birds, about when they write the history of this time. Some future person is going to watch all of these shows, and they are going to write a paper on this show, and they're going to say, it sucks to be right, literally and figuratively. Tara Devlin was right. It's true. That's what drove her mad. She ended up in the cuckoo bin, saying, it sucks to be, just shaking. It sucks to be right. It sucks to be. For real. Because I'm sick of it. I feel like Cassandra from mythology. For years I've been screaming about what's going to happen. And no one listens until it's too late. And then I'm like, look, see, I've been saying it for years, and every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism. Here they go. They hate democracy. Look, now they want a king. Now they have a king who puts on a crown and posts videos of himself pooping on people. Oh, God. Well, Trump, everything he touches dies. That's a well-worn and well-honored, it's not even a trope. It's the truth. And in the last year, while he's gotten $3 billion richer, at least 717 U.S. companies have filed for bankruptcy through November 2025, which the S&P Global Market Intelligence data and the Washington Post describe as the highest figure since the aftermath of the Great Recession. And this is a 14% increase over the same period last year, when that horrible Biden was in office, was Sleepy Joe. The spike is concentrated in industrial sectors, manufacturing, construction, transportation. So tell me again, Traitor Trump and Maggots, about what a boom. It's a manufacturing boom. That's what we keep hearing. Everything is a lie from them, of course. And this is, of course, they're saying it's the tariffs. Tariffs have disrupted supply chains, raised costs, raised input costs, contradicting Trader Trump's claims that tariffs will revive the U.S. economy. Now, and no one said, this is the other thing, they always say, oh, liberals used to be for tariffs. Well, no one ever said that tariffs aren't a part of the whole an economic package, but you don't do it the way the baboon has done it. The baboon says, they asked him, how do you come up with your tariffs, your tariff calculation? He's like, well, we talk about unfairness, how we've been treated in the past. It's bullshit. Unfairness and how we've been treated in the past. What a piece of dirt. What a child. What a moron. This is an idiot that put tariffs on a island of penguins because he's a moron. Oh, what? I didn't know that. Karen on the chat said, Tara, do you remember when Trump was banned by Hefner? From the Playboy Mansion back in the 80s before he was married. I don't doubt it. Well, he probably thought he was, handsy. He was in Handsyville, where you could just be as handsy as you could possibly hands, as Megyn Kelly would say. Megyn Kelly, that great feminist. And another one who she was one who called conservatives cowards for backing or standing up for Russell Brand when he was accused of sexual assault, right? But when it comes to Trump, there's no bottom, no low too low for them. It's it's just incredible how they debase themselves. You know? It really is. But not unexpected. It happens in every country where democracy falls to autocracy. It does so with the help of the conservative power structure. But, you know, at this point, this is the thing. The Republicans, and we've discussed this before, when an autocrat takes power, usually they do so because of a crisis, an economic crisis, like what we had in the 30s. We had the Great Depression. In Germany, they fell to fascism. Here, luckily enough, we went the other way. We had FDR. We could have went towards fascism, but we picked the right direction at that time. So usually when an autocrat destroys a democracy or a republic, there's an initial sugar high, so to speak. They start implementing series of public works. They put people back to work. Although if you're not part of a targeted minority group, initially you might think, oh gee, this is working out rather well. But we don't have that. It's in the reverse now. All Traitor Trump has is propaganda. I don't know. Is that how you put it? Is that the correct grammar? That's all we have are the lies. We don't have the reality. There's no economic boom. It's a decline. And he's covering it up. He's not talking about, the affordability scam. Oh, they say affordability. It's a scam. It's a hoax. And we were doing better when, that's why you had to have that. We were doing better under Joe Biden, that's for sure. And although inflation, this is the other thing that makes me want to scream. The Democrats they suck at messaging, of course, but inflation was a worldwide problem. The corporate media should have informed the American people about this. It wasn't just an American problem, but inflation, because of the pandemic, they certainly excused Traitor Trump. They gave him wide latitude on his failings, leaving Joe Biden the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover. That was all because of the pandemic. But Joe Biden's inflation problem, supposedly, was just something having to do with Joe Biden sucking, had nothing to do with the pandemic, even though it was completely related to the pandemic. Inflation was a worldwide problem that every country was dealing with, except the United States. It was coming down faster than in every other country. So we were doing okay in perspective. I don't know. Instead of reporting this, and instead of the Democratic Party shaming the corporate media into reporting it by calling them biased, by calling them, the both sides mania, where, which is what that's what the Republicans did for years, calling the liberal media, which it wasn't liberal. It was not a liberal media. It was facts. When you report the facts have a liberal bias. But they just shamed the media into falling in line with the Republican, I guess, enabling. And now here we are. Any attempt to tell the truth is somehow, a liberal bias. And the Democratic Party and the American people are not going to, they don't know things by, osmosis. You have to inform them. So here's the music. So that's the end of the show, but we'll finish our little thought. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button and then the damn thing just got very loud. In my headset, too. Alright, guys. Thank you for hanging out. This is Tara Devlin. Remember Tarabuster Tuesdays. We will win. Thank you, Charlie, from APS Radio and APS Radio News. Thank you, Charlie, for doing everything you do for the community cats and for keeping the show going and growing. We will win. We're on the right side of history. We're on the right side of decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. We stick together, we win. I'll see you soon. All right, what was I saying? I wanted to finish my thought, but yeah, it's been a lot of thoughts tonight, all over the place. Sometimes. But, okay, yeah, where was I? Where's was me? Thank you, Profanity Bonus. Thank you for your super chat, JD Christie. Thank you. Not too bad. We got a lot of... Oh, and thank you, guys. I didn't see you. New member. Thank you, Steve. Jesus Christ, I didn't see that earlier. I'm so sorry. Welcome. Thank you, Karen, for being a member to the Booty Boo Club. And thank you, JD Christie, for the profanity bonus. Nice. So, guys, yeah, so we'll have Tuesday, Tarabuster Tuesdays. Hopefully, we'll have more shows. We need more shows. I gotta get my shit in gear here. I just have to get my schedule down better. I need to do more videos. I need to do more shows. So, yes, on Tuesdays, the show is recorded on the Political Voices Network, live, and then it is rebroadcast the next day on Tarabuster iTunes. And, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, they have more followers over there. And it helps. I know, I don't make it easy. But, alright, listen, what am I saying? Who knows? I got work to do. We all do. We have a lot of work to do. And we'll have more to talk about. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to get a guest for Tuesday on Tarabuster. Any plans to have Poppy back on? Yes, of course. Maybe we can have her on. I'll ask her if she wants to come back on maybe next week on Friday. That'd be nice. Right? I got to get more guests. I'm trying to get guests because Andrea's going to help get guests who works on Hal's show. I just don't have the time and the connections either, so she's going to help get guests. And Hal said he's coming on. We're going to nail that down. And, of course, JoJo from Jurors. She was supposed to be the first guest, but there was a technical problem. And then, of course, the holidays got away from us. There was so much going on. And, yeah, it's tough, guys. I'm trying. I'm not complaining. I don't know what I would do without you, really. I'm just being sincere right now. Because earlier today, I get seasonal affective disorder, right? And I don't like winter at all. I should have moved when I was younger. Should have moved to California or somewhere warmer. Not that the sun doesn't go down, but at least it's warm. And this winter, I just hate it. And I get very down. And with everything going on, it makes it worse. So today, when I was getting my coffee earlier, getting ready to do the show, and I thought how grateful I am to do the show, and how much I was looking forward to seeing everybody, because I knew that it would help me, pull myself out of this malaise. And as much as I get a little down, we're in this together, So I feel very fortunate in that. And I thank you, really, for being at my side and helping and being a part of the show. Look, I'm tearing up. Jeez. I'm a very emotional person, but I shouldn't apologize for that because I give a shit. I think there should be more of that. But, yeah. Eddie says, I like the winter because I'm in Cali and I can go to the snow when I want to. Yes. Don't have to scrape my windshield. So that's good. Yes. Well, I don't know. It gets very, you know what it is too. Here on I live high on one of the higher floors, and it actually sounds a lot worse up here than it does than it is outside. So it always sounds like it's always a little colder. It's always a little windier up here. All right, you. Relax. Listen to him. Hey, stop that. You little mommy. Stop it. Yes. I love you too, guys. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I have to get the show ready for Progressive Voices because, as you know, this show is played on Sundays. That's why we have the music cues. And, but we will have Tuesday and maybe a Thursday in the future. Oh, you were watching Homeland on Netflix, Susie. Oh, that was good. Maybe I'll watch that. Sometimes that's what I like to do after the show on Friday nights. Just go and like tune it out. Tune it all out. I turn on Netflix and watch just escape into somebody else's reality. Distract me from my life. So, hey, Junior, he just bit me. You're lucky I love you. All right. Ow! Now that hurt. That's it. You're down. All right, my friends. Thank you for hanging out. I got to get the show ready for Progressive Voices. And thank you. I don't even know what else to say except thank you. So, subscribe to my Substack. Give the show a good review on iTunes, please. That will be very helpful. Share the show with your friends. Be kind to each other. I know I don't even have to say that. That goes without saying. We are in this together, and I'm very lucky to know all of you. Thank you, really, as much as I do know you, and I do look forward to seeing you. And I think about, I don't see Jim in the chat tonight. Even I'm very grateful. Redfoot's here moderating, but I worry about I don't see Jim, and I wonder, where is Jim? I hope he's okay. So I do notice. I know, the regulars. I think about you guys and I care. So hope all is well and keep coming back. It works if you work it, so work it, you're worth it. We will win. We will. We are on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy. Yes, Redford said we should nominate another mod. And I agree. Does anybody want to be a moderator? It's a volunteer job, so let's. You can think about it. I could do it right now if anybody wants to raise their hand. That is, that we know. Redfoot will have to approve, or we can do it next time. I know we're wrapping it up. All it means is that you don't have to, all it means is that you keep the chat room safe from trolls, and we allow maggots, of course, as long as they behave. They could have a difference of opinion. That's okay. But we do have a low tolerance for their bullshit. We had a discussion about this once. We decided zero tolerance, really. Well, all right. No one's stepping up, but at the time, but we will. It's not, it's not a big deal, really. If if you want to, let me know. Susie, you want to be one? I free on Friday nights. Susie, are you saying you want to be a mod? Yeah, you could be a mod. You don't. I mean, it's not like a. You're okay, Susie. We're gonna make Susie a mod. You don't. If you don't make it one night or another night, or if you fall asleep, it's fine. There's really no pressure. Okay, where'd you go, Susie? Because now the chat's moving and I can't find you here. Bump. You ready, Susie? There you go. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Shit. Oh, the chat's moving. It's getting. Oh, here we go. Let me see. Boom. Susie's a mod. Susie is a mod. Thank you, Susie, for stepping up. You should. It should be. Did you get a message? Yes. All right. Very nice. Very good. We've had a promotion in the chat. Very nice. Very nice. All right, my friends. We'll talk more. If anybody else wants to be a moderator, you're always welcome to say, I'd like to be one. If I know you and you're a regular, of course, that would help. All right, my loves. You're the best. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Redfoot. And yeah, it's always, being a mod is cool. You get to, we don't get a lot of bombers in here, but it happens. And hopefully we'll get more as the show grows. We'll get more. I know there's a few that hang out at Hal's show. So the more you grow, the more you know, and the more the moderators will be definitely important. And they are. You're important now. You've always been. So thank you. Thank you for, trusting me, Susie. Really. Thank you. It really does make me, I'm honored that you want to do it. It's an important role. And the fact that people want to do it on this show is really amazing. So thank you. It makes a better experience for everybody. Uh-oh, here comes my little burden's burden. Right? Are you being nice now? All right, my loves. Thank you for hanging out. Yes, I hear you, Junior. I hear you. Okay, now he's moving the mic away. Okay, guys. The Mod Squad. Yep. I will see you. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. And now, if you want to be a moderator on the other show, I have to make you a mod there too, but because that's on Political Voices. But I will if I see you in there. No pressures, but you mod here if you only want, or there, or you let me know. All right, my loves. I will see you. I'll see you very soon, and please have a great weekend and stay safe. I'll see you.